looking at buying one of these attractive Genesis cars, right? So let me show you a few things as an owner who owned this car for the past 4 years, and I'll show you some of the issues that you really should be careful about when buying a used Genesis. And this is no jokes, there are some nice cars out there and some not as much. And I was the lucky one and I got the worst one of them all. So I had all possible issues on it for the past 4 years. It's been in and out of the service, and on average it spends around 3 to 4 months being parked at the dealer. And in the meantime, I'm getting a pleasure of driving a Elantra or some other Hyundai car, because my car is one of the 15-16 models, and because it's a Hyundai now and it's not Genesis, technically they don't have to give you the Genesis rental. So let me show you a few things. Just before we continue, I want you to know that I make videos about actual user experiences. This video is not about hating this vehicle. As every other video on my channel, this video is about user experience. I don't go much into the technical details. Many other YouTubers did that already before me. Instead, I concentrate on quality, durability, and pleasure of use. I hope that based on this video, you will be able to pick the right vehicle for yourself and right for your budget, as well as be prepared for all the upcoming issues that may arise with this specific vehicle. Now buckle up and let's watch the video. So first, apart from doing the normal walk around of the car when you buy a used one, doesn't matter if it's a dealer or if it's a private person, obviously pay attention to all the scratches and all that stuff. But where you should start is with this light. So this light, on the video now it flickers because it's a LED light, but in reality it might flicker just like that as well. So if it does that, bear in mind this is a change required, and they change the entire handle to replace this light. So if your car is out of warranty, good luck. So another thing, when they changed my light bulb on this handle, well, entire handle to be precise, they messed it up. Of course, this is Hyundai and Genesis, and that's how they take it off, right? You see these scuffs? The smart cats over there were trying to ply it with a screwdriver to open the cover. So they scratched the cover, they scratched the body of the car. Took me 6 months to make them replace this cover. And here's why. They painted the handle in a wrong shade of white. If you look at the picture here with the arrow, you can see the shade difference between the left and right side of the handle. They also ignored the scratches and damages they did to the cover on the right. And I didn't even say anything about the crappy quality of the paint itself, because look at all those paint marks on the chrome part. Now let's take it further and look at the passenger side. I have no idea why they touched it, but they did. And same as with the last time, they used a screwdriver on it. I have no idea why. To me, it seems like screwdriver is the ultimate tool for all Genesis, Kia and Hyundai technicians, because look at some of the other cases that I've seen on the Genesis forum when somebody had their front lights replaced. And that's how they fixed it for another guy who had the same issue. Can you see Audi or BMW doing the same thing? Obviously they cannot fix this now anymore, otherwise they have to paint the entire door, which is not ideal. And even though they replaced it with a brand new thing, look what they did. There's supposed to be a loop in here. They broke it off during painting because they don't know how to take it off. That's the issue of the Genesis cars. They're being serviced by people who fix Elantras, not Genesis. Right? So it goes in place, but it goes off just like that because this button now is not activated. It doesn't hold it in place. So it took me 6 months to fix it. And even though they fixed it, you see like there's a paint in there. See, I can peel it off easily. It's not the best of the jobs, because Hyundai, at least here in Canada, in Toronto, they don't have their own paint shop. Okay, so check for those. And just before we continue, let me give you a few examples of excellent service by Hyundai. Once I had a great opportunity to dig my car out from a snow pile by myself. And Hyundai knew that I would be coming to pick it up probably like 2 days in advance, and they did nothing about it, even though they had the car for like 2 months.
Another time, after them being quiet for about a month of having my car, I stopped by just to check on it, and look what I see in a stockyard. They left the car with the window open under pouring rain. And in general, it's pretty normal to pick up your car from Genesis or Hyundai in a condition like this, with oily fingerprints across your entire interior, dirty seats, and dirty exterior covered in mud.
Another thing, depending on the mileage of your car and the service history, if you don't see that they have changed the brake pads, this is another thing to look at. So my car is now at 51,000 kilometers and the front brake pads are gone. So it now requires a replacement. So make sure that the thickness of your brake pads is good, or ask the dealer to actually change it for you, because you don't want to be paying for that as well. Another thing on the outside to look at is the roof railing. You see there's this stripe in here. So this is not a watermark. This is actually paint that burnt out on the sun. I guess that's how they store it when the car is brand new. By the way, it's been here since the car was brand new. I only noticed it a couple of months later. And obviously when I got to the dealer, they told me, well, it's a normal tear and wear, what do you want? Great, right? And it's available on both sides, and it goes throughout the entire length of the roof. I guess it's coming from one of the stickers that they apply to the roof when they ship the vehicle. Okay, so, and this is the other side. And same thing here, you see? It looks as if it was scratched. So on this side I also had it repainted, same as on the other one. They've been replacing this thing. They scratched the surface here of the entire thing. I have the pictures, here they are. That's how it was, and that's how they painted it. Obviously they screwed up the paint on the entire handle here. You see the paint marks. And this thing, like there's like a little bubble here. It's not that visible on the camera, but there's like a little tiny bubble there. That means that they overpainted it, oversprayed it. Same thing you might see on the mirror as well. In my case, I had it on the driver's side since it was brand new.
And speaking of mirrors, they're actually made of very delicate glass, so it's easy to scratch during a normal cleanup.
Another thing, so with the 15-16 models, the doors don't close properly. You'll be surprised how heavy the doors are, and they don't lock, right? So now I already developed a skill to push it properly, but on a normal car, you would normally just, slide it like that, and it would lock. Here it doesn't, you see? So check out the doors on the 15-16 models, and if you have this, so this is not something that they can easily fix, but if they really want to, they can. So you have to slam it harder otherwise. And it's only doing it on front driver and passenger side.
Now let's look at the list of all the issues I had on this vehicle. I tried to build it in a chronological order with the relative mileage of when it occurred. And as we continue through the list, bear in mind that I've changed 4 different dealerships that are not affiliated in any way. The Hyundai head office was giving me support until approximately end of 2016. That's when they officially announced that they're going separate from Hyundai and creating a different brand, Genesis. And that's when the entire support team for Genesis cars under Hyundai logo got vanished. The front doors, they were never fixed. I've been to 4 different dealerships and all gave me some kind of excuses. For example, one, when the car was just brand new, gave me an excuse that the seals are too tight and the air inside doesn't let the car close. And after a while it will let me close properly. Obviously it didn't happen. After numerous complaints, one of the dealerships decided to fix it and they just slightly adjusted it. That adjustment has slightly improved the closing, but it never fixed the issue. After a while you will learn how to slam it quietly, but never your passengers, and you will end up asking them to close the door again. Wheel alignment is another issue that has been on this vehicle since the beginning. However, it got fixed after 4th visit to the dealership, and now the vehicle drives straight for the past 50,000 kilometers. To check if the vehicle has an alignment issue, take it to the nearest highway and drive it on a steady road. Make sure there is no traffic, so you're not stopping all the time. And while you're driving, let the steering wheel drive itself for a bit, and you should see if the vehicle holds the road straight or if it's pulling to the right. If it's pulling to the right, then it means that there is an original alignment issue on the vehicle exists, and you have to fix it by yourself if you don't tell the dealer before you buy it. Next issue is very hard to diagnose by yourself without driving the car for extensive period of time, but I would suggest to check the service record and see if anyone has raised the complaint and has replaced the mirror servos. Basically what it does, when the vehicle reverses, it puts the mirrors slightly down so you can see what's happening at the back. So after a while of doing that, the mirror stops at a certain position and it doesn't go back to its original position where it's supposed to be. To fix it from the inside, you just press the memory button on your door and it pushes it back to where it's supposed to be. But fact is, it doesn't come back on its own. Sunroof seal is the next one on your list, and to test this one you can do it at the same time with the wheel alignment. You just have to take it to the highway and drive the car for a bit. So while you're doing it, turn off all the music, open the sunroof shade and listen for the wind noise. If wind noise is excessive from there, it means that the seal is damaged and has to be replaced. It took my guys 3 weeks to get it replaced. CarComplaints.com has also reported a possibility of shattered sunroof on these vehicles, and 2015 and 16 Hyundai Genesis is on the list. It didn't happen to me, but this is something to be aware of. And the last few minor bits to check outside on your car are the roof paint issues that I mentioned earlier, the door lights I mentioned earlier as well, and the last one is a trunk opening lever or trunk handle. The last one didn't happen to me, but I've seen a lot of issues reported from the other owners on various forums. And while you're at the back, check the stop lights on your trunk lid as well. There have been reports of faulty wiring. And now let's see what's waiting for us inside. So once you get inside of the vehicle, you'll see that it's all nice and comfortable, but there are things on my list here that you have to check, and one of them will shadow every other issue that I mentioned so far and will mention after it. And this thing is drive shaft, or AKA propeller shaft. Propeller shaft is very hard to diagnose, and a lot of mechanics on Hyundai crews, they have no idea what it is and how to treat it. Even the head office of Hyundai in Canada was not able to help me with that, so I had to go and find the issue myself, then invite the field technicians. Yes, Hyundai head office has a fleet of field technicians that belong to the Hyundai office, and they travel across every dealership in the country and work with the issues like this when the dealership is not able to help. After about 9 months of arguing with them, and by them I mean the head office and the dealership that had the car at that time, they invited one of these field mechanics over to the dealership without even informing me about it. So they gave him the car, as I found out later from him. They gave him the car, the keys, and they were like, okay, so take the car and tell us if there is anything wrong about it. Obviously he drove it, took it to the highway, drove it on a higher speed, and he couldn't find anything because he didn't know what he's looking for. But to really know what's going on, you have to be looking at specific things, and I found them. So I had to invite this same mechanic over to another dealership because the other one was useless. We actually ended up getting rid of one of the service managers there because he was ridiculous. He didn't want to listen to any of my findings. He told me, "Are you a mechanic here or am I? I'm gonna find the issues myself. I don't need your tips." That's exactly what he told me, and I guess that's why he was fired. But anyways, how do you check if the Genesis G80 or one of the 15 or 16 models has the propeller shaft issue? So first of all, you have to drive the car. And when you drive it, you will be looking for two things. You will be looking for a rumbling sound like this. And you will be looking for a vibration. It will be either one of these or two together. And how do I know this? Because one of my propeller shafts was replaced, and after the replacement I got the vibration issue. So before that it was just the sound, now it's vibration and occasional sound as well. When I brought the car back to the dealership that fixed it and pointed at the issue, now they had to submit another claim to the head office. And the reason why? Because part alone costs $2,000. So obviously they cannot just go ahead and replace it, they have to get the approval from the head office. But this time instead, the head office told them, you know what, why are you looking at the propeller shaft? If this is a vibration, start with the wheels and check if the car has proper wheels, proper thread. So they actually made me replace the entire set of wheels before they could proceed further. And even then they wanted me to pay extra to take road force balancing test or whatever it's called, something like that. Clearly wasn't necessary on the car because the issue is there. Because of the symptoms I'm going to tell you now. The vibration and the sound come at exactly the same speed settings. And for example, if vibration would be coming at any other speed, then of course this is a different issue. But since it's appearing within the same threshold of the speed, clearly meaning only one thing. It's coming from the same part. So what is that speed? The speed you're looking at, so if you're driving in kilometers like we do here in Canada, you're looking at the speed range between 40 and 60 kilometers per hour. In fact, to be precise, it's more like 40 and 50 kilometers per hour. But in certain cases, I've experienced it closer to 60. So how do you make it to come out at that speed range? First of all, you just bring it to the 60 kilometers per hour range and let the vehicle coast. Road has to be flat and there should be no traffic for you to brake. So once you get there, speed it up to 60 and then let it coast down. So as soon as it windows down closer to 40 or like below 50 and closer to 40, that's where you should listen to this. And as a passenger, if you're not driving the car and if you're trying to diagnose it, you should be hearing the issue from this corner, right? So if you're sitting here, then you should be hearing this rumbling sound from approximately here. On the driver's side, however, it's the opposite, right? So you hear it from driver's side under this wheel. I know it's funny, but it's actually coming from a center console. And as far as I understood, this is something to do with the coupling of the gearbox and the drive shaft itself. If the issue didn't come up in the scenario I gave you when you speed it up to 60 and let it window down to 40, try the different approach, right? So get the car to 40 kilometers an hour and slowly start accelerating, like very slowly, pretty much picking every single line there on your speedometer towards the 60 kilometers mark. Again, if there is a vibration or this sound, listen to it. Make sure that all the windows closed, that the sunroof shade is closed as well, to minimize any sound in the cabin at all. So start listening. And in one of these two scenarios, you will definitely find the issue if it's there. If the issue was not identified so far, and you feel like the car is good, so there is no vibration and there is no sound, then make sure you also check the service record and ensure that it has been replaced or it has not been replaced, because if it has not been replaced, then it means that it might come up at some point. And this issue is the most expensive one so far that I've heard of and that I've dealt with. Even replacement of the headlights is not as expensive as this one. Just the labor takes extensive amount of time on it, and that's why it's so expensive. And speaking of labor, make sure that the underneath covers of the engine bay are in place, because they tend to forget to put them on or they don't screw them properly. So you might be losing it on a highway somewhere. Next is a medium level issue. And it's something to do with the driver's seat. So when you drive it, take the car to a corner somewhere, ideally 90-degree or a few of them, and try to go into that corner as fast as you can. Don't try to be slow on it, try to go as fast as you can, but again, you don't have to drift into it. And what you're looking for is a click under your butt. So what that click means is that the driver's seat is loose, and it's something to do with the way it's attached to the car. Doesn't matter how often you get it tightened up, it will be getting loose again and again. At least this was the issue on my vehicle, and the worst part about it is, again, when you bring it to the dealership, you tell them about the issue, the very first response you'll get from them, "Oh, we couldn't find anything wrong about it." That's like a standard dealership answer on every issue on the car. Even if the engine falls out, they'll still tell you the same thing. "You know what? We didn't find anything wrong." The other day, I brought my car into the service and I told them about squeaking noise coming from the front of the vehicle. This is the sound, by the way. They told me they couldn't find anything wrong about it, and they didn't hear any sound. Apparently it was just the brake pads running out, but dealership couldn't find anything wrong about it. You know why? Because they were not smart enough. I told them to check it outside, make sure somebody stands outside to listen to it. So when you are in the car, you don't hear it. You have to be outside. And that was the same dealership that left my car with the open door, like literally open door and lights on overnight under pouring rain. And I came to pick it up next day, and guess what I find? Completely dead car with water inside. Now we are moving to the minor issues, but again, since you are buying this car, you want to know how much it would cost you, and you don't want to be replacing things. So another thing to check is pillars. There is something inside of these pillars that was replaced, at least on my vehicle, and the reason why it was replaced, it was giving this like a squeaky, clicking noises when you are driving on uneven road. So to get the idea of the sounds I'm talking about is, imagine you're driving a all-plastic Dodge Caravan somewhere on a gravel road, and that's exactly the noises you'll get. So they have the option to fix it, and they have to replace something inside of these pillars. I know it's minor, but again, you have to be aware of it. And then the next issue here is something to do with the carpet. There's usually a logo here, a Genesis logo. It's not attached well to the carpet and it tends to fall off, just like on the picture here. When you buy a car and if you see that it's not attached properly, maybe ask them to replace it for free. That's it for the issues I had on my car, but let's look at some other issues commonly mentioned in the Facebook groups. Wobbling sunroof is something that is being commonly addressed on these vehicles as well, and that's on top of the already existing the sunroof wind seal issues that I mentioned before and the one I had, and that's also on top of the structural issue on the sunroof when it just explodes. Here's an example how it sounds. Again, something to look at, and you can test it along the way when you check the windshield. And guess what? We are back to the door handles. So with door handles, what I've noticed, there's another issue very common on these vehicles is when the door handles just fall off. Here are a few examples. The owners have reported that all the dealers just pull it normally without any extra force. And there was no work done on the door or door panels or anything inside the door to make the door handles loose from the inside. Again, if you're buying a car and if you're not sure about things on it, pull the handles pretty well on it just to see if it falls off. The next on my list is another curious part of this car. This is a front seat back cover or back panel, however you call it. There are numerous pictures on all possible Facebook groups and reports that these things fall off by themselves. The reason why it falls off, there are some plastic clips that tend to break off by itself. Therefore, if you're planning to buy a car, shake it a little, make sure it's there and it's not loose in any way. Next minor issue reported frequently is how easy it is to scratch the paint on the rims. Even myself, during a cleanup, sometime I would scratch it a little, then you saw the pictures of being scratched by the dealership, but they also tend to peel sometime. Here's an example how it does it. Last but not least is the rust. Definitely check the entire car for the rust spots and underneath, in the door openings, wherever you usually would normally find the rust, but also pay attention to the chrome moldings that go along window line. Then open the doors and check these corners here on every door section and ensure that they are rust free. The rust tends to go deep in there. Then lift up the sunroof and check the sunroof arms that hold it, if they are rusty or not, like this. And that's it on my list of things that you have to check if you're planning to buy a used Genesis G80 or Hyundai Genesis sedan, especially if you don't want to be disappointed later with all these Easter eggs that I just brought up.
For the non-believers, this is how my service record looks like on this car. See how thick it is in 4 years? It's not supposed to be like that on a premium car. So, and if you already bought the car, a tip I can give you as an owner is to look after your tire pressure. So now I cannot show it to you because I didn't drive the car yet, but you'll notice that at dealerships, they put too much air into your tires. So you would normally end up with like 36, 37 PSIs in the summer when the car is cold. So once you start driving it, it goes up like ridiculously and you get like a stiff and very bumpy ride in this car. So to fix that, make sure that they either don't touch your tire pressure completely, or you get one of those automated tire pumps that you can set up to a specific range and pull it out once it's done. My recommended PSI for this car is 32 PSIs. So try to maintain it at 32 PSI throughout the year and you should have a very pleasant drive on the highway.
Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and it will be useful for you to get a couple of bucks down from the purchase of your vehicle. And definitely subscribe to my channel because I'm having a couple of giveaways coming up soon. The rules are coming up.
Please don't forget to participate in my giveaway. And just to remind you, this time at 100 subscribers, we're giving away Lenovo Smart Clock. And at 200 subscribers, we're giving away the Google Stadia controller. To participate, you have to subscribe, like one of my videos, and leave a comment below. And stay tuned. Good luck!